What's up, Cryptonauts? Looking for some AR, VR, XR content, right? So what's the metaverse? Well, I'm going to throw this out there at the beginning. People talk about going to the metaverse. I think it's more like the metaverse comes to you. And I'll explain that as we go. But you're not really... everything is brought to you. Like, your phone is a supercomputer compared to just years ago of what technology we had, right? And so we have all of this data, and it's what we do with it. So now we're bringing this data, we're overlaying it into the real world, and we're adding it to our everyday life. And to the extent that we do that is up to us, but there's a lot of options coming. And within the next, 3 to 5 years, I think you're going to see some huge developments in this. I'll show a video link at the end, and it's also in my playlist from SETI talking about AR, VR, and it's pretty cool. We'll stick around to the end, and I think you'll really like that. Meanwhile, in between, I'm going to talk about Decentraland, the Sandbox, but not the same old Decentraland Sandbox. We're just going to touch on them real quick and then add them into the pile of how they fit into the metaverse as a larger entity, or as a metaverse universe that's built of small micro metaverses, right? Somnium Space, Starlink. If you haven't heard about Starlink, that's a really cool project. And I'm not talking about the Elon Musk one, although I am a little bit. Now, this is a blockchain project. Metahero, Metaverse ETP, Metaverse NFT, and Ultra. Those are some of the other projects we're going to talk about at the end. We're also going to talk about some glasses, Unity, Unreal, Facebook, some mind control. Like, you can literally use VR goggles with a little mind control device. It's non-intrusive. It just goes across the back and, blow up aliens and stuff. It's pretty neat. What else are we going to talk about? Some of the problems. So we're not just going to hype all of this and say, yay, it's going to be great. In 3 years, everything's going to be cool. There are some serious problems that they have to overcome, and that's why it's taken a long time for this technology to develop. We've been hearing about AR, VR, and all this kind of stuff since the 90s. But it's really been, when can the hardware catch up to the aspirations of what we want to do with the technology? All right, so if any of this sounds exciting to you, like, subscribe, comment. That's kind of how the content gets out there, and that's what I do. I don't do sponsored content. That's not my thing. Just sharing my research, and this is my way to kind of peer review my research, if that makes sense. Because, if I get likes, then I know that it's probably pretty close to accurate. Or if I miss something, or, if it's not right, the information is just wrong, and I researched it wrong, or I looked at the wrong project, dislikes, comments, stuff like that, that lets me know. It helps me correct my path. All right, without further ado, so let's look right here, CoinGecko. And most of these, CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap, have ways to categorize different projects, NFTs, DeFi, portfolios, stuff like that. You can build your own portfolio, or however you want to look at stuff, like I guess your home list or your wish list, or whatever you want to watch. But what we're going to look at right here is what they consider the metaverse. So they have Decentraland, the Sandbox. They also have Decentral Games, which Somnium Space, we'll talk about them a little bit. And OVR, I like OVR a lot. Probably just because I own a bunch. That's kind of a disclaimer, I own a lot of these projects, just so you know. And then Starlink, which is kind of one that's, it's got 15 million in 24-hour trading volume, but it's one that I don't really hear too much about lately. Before we move on, though, the Etheverse one that they're talking about right here, it was 7 cents. It really doesn't matter, because Etheverse is now pivoting to the Merkle network, and it says, as a result of the legal inquiries due to the end user license agreement of the gaming platform that they're using, Etheverse is ceasing gaming operations and transitioning to something else. And that they're all of the development done by Etheverse will be open sourced and available for anyone who wishes to carry the baton forward and then complete the Etheverse vision. Here's a Medium article, basically, talking about the same thing. So the Merkle network, what they're transitioning to, is going to be a Web 3.0 protocol for interoperable oracles and enable cross-chain transfers of blockchain assets and data between multiple blockchains. And it talks, they show Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain, Polygon. not a deep dive, just kind of an update if you were looking at Metaverse stuff. So kicking right into it, let's go. About 69.5 cents for Decentraland. The token is Mana. That's the currency. That's the ERC-20 version. And then there's also Land, L-A-N-D, and that would be your NFT ERC-721s. And this is basically the in-game currency. This is what you're going to use to buy assets, land. You're going to use this to get your T-shirts, your glasses, whatever, right? This is what we're talking about. It's your money. And it had quite a big peak here. So it was up after over $1.50. And here we are, half that. Less than half of that. And I fully expect this to make new all-time highs in the near to distant future. It's not the end. That's just where I'm at. It's my opinion, not financial advice, not what I do. But you can get this all the way down to Coinbase. It's that easy. If you shouldn't have a hard time trying to find the Mana. What is Decentraland? Again, not a deep dive, just a touch. We're trying to put all of the little intricate pieces of the metaverse and show you how you can do this. It's a world. It's a game. But it's a game in a sense that whatever the experiences are put on it are gamified. You can walk around, and there's a couple differences. So we're going to talk about the Sandbox, and we're going to talk about Decentraland. And Decentraland, you can kind of just roam around. There's roads. Let's scroll down through. So here's some of you can have, some rollerblades, change your boots, have a hat, different glasses, gloves. There's a marketplace for all of this. Land. You can trade your virtual destination for digital assets. Trade the virtual destination. When we get into the land, LAND, that's the ERC-721 land tokens. See, they're segmented to position, These are your roads. But you can walk across people's land, open land. Most of the land is just open land, except for in some of the busier district areas or, some of the regions where people have already started to enhance their experience. But for the most part, yeah, you can go across. Now, the Sandbox, I don't think is quite the same way. You can see kind of into the distance, if you know where I'm going with this, with Decentraland, where the Sandbox isn't quite there yet. Here's the white paper. All the links will be below. I'm not going to dig into the white paper, but if you want to know about Decentraland, really start at the white paper and work your way through. All right, here's the map for Decentraland, and this is the most recent one that I got. Over here's the casino district. So Decentral Games and Atari worked together, did a little thing. Here's Decentral Games, $174.12. Market cap $50 million, and circulating supply pretty low. I'm not going to deep dive these, just kind of showing you the coins. All of these are going up for the most part. If they haven't, they will be. But Decentral Games right here, play and own the first ever Metaverse casino. And they actually have real life people dealing and real life people playing and gaming. It's interesting, so it's not just you're playing a computerized dealer. They have DAO system, decentralized autonomous organization. You can own the casino, control the profits, vote for new games, and decide on future proposals. Here we see Atari, Polygon, Maker. Not a deep dive, but you can see that there's depths to this. So we have Atari, we have gaming, we have Decentraland. So if we were to talk about this in the concept of the metaverse, this would be a virtual reality world isolated, right? So it's its own environment, it's got boundaries. So that's not like a total universal metaverse, but it's somewhere that we can go. It's like switching channels on the TV. Now maybe we've been in our Decentraland, we checked out some of the stuff. Maybe there was a live event, maybe there was somebody made a new art gallery, who knows? And now we're done with that. Maybe we went to the casino. And now we're going to go check out Sandbox. So Sandbox is SAND, that's 62 cents. Here's your Ethereum address. These are ERC-20 tokens. And it's up, 150% in the last month. Another one that's pretty easy to get, Crypto.com, Binance, stuff like that. So not a deep dive. And they got some names, that are working here, just like with Decentraland. The Walking Dead is coming soon. They have the Care Bears, Deadmau5, the Smurfs, Atari is also in here, Roller Coaster Tycoon. So now the way that I understand the Sandbox, and comment below if I'm wrong, These are isolated district experience, basically. Like, so when you buy, I'll show you the map. So the map you can see is broken up. So where this is showing like Binance, they can have an experience right here. And then each of these, if they want to district them together because they're adjacent, then they can. Because then, you know, it looks like they're all owned by Binance, so then they would have agreement between all of them. I think you have to have 2 partners to make a district between 2 adjacent lands or something along those lines. We see stuff like right here. So the South China Morning Post is going to archive their all of their publishings through NFTs, and here we see them in the Sandbox. So basically this is going to be like a South China Morning Post library where you could go to in virtual reality space and check it out. So eventually I think there'll be a way to access some of this content through VR and AR, but you know, maybe not. It's not right now. This is just speculative, but this is part of the metaverse. The metaverse is going to involve AR, VR, XR, everything you can kind of get into. And you can see Binance is really going big on a lot of this stuff. There's quite a few that are too. Let's see, we got some Bitverse stuff. Was that like a CryptoPunks? And then I know, here's Atari. And then here's Roller Coaster Tycoon. Atari has a bunch all over. And so the thing with this that I want to point out, and I think it's is some of these are hard to move from land to land, so you have to like enable portals and be able to jump around and stuff like that. And some are, here's the Smurfs, and lands open up more and more. See, here's the Walking Dead lands that are going to be opening up. So it's like changing the channel. We'll go check this out now, and then when we're tired with that, go to something else. But here's some OpenSea, and these are Sandbox items. So you can make and create items, sell them, and put them in the Sandbox. So now let's say that you want to take this Smiling Smurf Stegosaurus right here and put this on one of your lands, and you own 3 lands. So you buy this. Well, you would have to buy 3 of them if you wanted to put 1 on each land. Each item is its own item, right? And so what you can do is buy these different items and populate them onto your land to create an experience. Here are buying and selling on the Sandbox marketplace. So now we've started to develop an economy based on these metaverse items, which is actually doing quite well. These videos are fun to watch if you want to get into it. Like I said, I'm trying to keep this as short as possible and yet still give you guys the concept. Through the metaverse, you can actually control, create, or designate your royalty fees. So now let's say you create an item that's becoming really popular. You start out, nobody knows who you are. Now you've created an item, another item, and you become pretty popular. And then people start selling these. They paid you $1, but now they're selling them for $100. Well, you can set that where every time it's sold, I get 5% of that as a royalty fee forever and ever, and it just goes right into my account. That's the fun of smart contracts, the blockchain, and where we're going with this. There's less of a centralized feel, and people are actually getting rewarded at a higher percentage than they would working through the third-party entities that they have to through the traditional methods of, selling your music, selling your art, selling your games. Trying to do that kind of stuff in the real world is, there's a lot of middlemen that want to cut. This kind of cuts some of that out. So that's why it's, such a fast-growing ecosystem. Here's some more stuff that we're getting into where we're talking about different experiences, what you can do on your land, how you can make different games, play to earn. And the concepts just keep going and going and going. Excuse me. You could almost make, 3 or 4 different videos out of all of this kind of stuff easily. So here we go. Transportation and portals. And this is where I was talking about where you can move from adjacent land to adjacent land. However, with some of these, like if let's say I was in this square and I went to the east exit and I went to the next land by someone else, and it's someone else's experience, and it could be the same size land, it could be a bigger land, it could be a smaller land, whatever it is. I think the default puts you into the center of the land, so you'll jump from the side to the center of the new experience, unlike in Decentraland, where you're kind of walking with a horizon and you're going through land to land, kind of like a long quest game or something like that, right? With an open landscape. This is going from each game has it, or each district or spot or space or has its own open landscape, but when you reach the borders, you jump to the center or a user-defined designated spot somewhere within their borders, right? Just so we're kind of clear on that. Okay, so now how do we make all this stuff, and what are you talking about? Vox Edit. If you haven't heard about that, you're an artist, or if you are an artist and you're making all this kind of stuff, and you're not putting it on like Sketchfab or, you know, getting yourself out there. There's plenty of marketplaces that you can, you know, get rewarded, get compensated for your time and effort. And people, they really like this stuff, and, you know, it is a good way to do it. So if you're making it and you're not sharing it with others, then you might be missing out. So here, Open NFT Metaverse. This is a Medium article, Sandbox game, where it talks about, actually this is the one, it's got different links, right? So here we were talking about The Walking Dead, links to this, but a bunch of different stuff about the Sandbox. What is the Sandbox? Here's one of them. It has, you know, a quick little video. I'll play it in the background where we're talking. So it's kind of like Minecraft. It is, you know, it's an open environment. You can go meet up with people. So you could use this as a social setting, right? So you guys could meet up like this, where everybody's got their little avatars in the sandbox. But you can do this with almost all of these different concepts. OVR does that. Decentraland does that. You know, Somnium Space does that, which we'll get to in just a second. But you see the hardware is where we're slowing down on here. Right now, the virtual stuff is kind of the ones that seem to be the most popular. You can see the map and where they're talking about different things. But that's because it's kind of the most fun right now, and it's just kind of where we're at. Once we get to where the goggles are going, or the glasses, or whatever we end up using to help augment this, and the hardware catch up to where it's cool, then it's on like Donkey Kong. Craft your game, no coding required. So like if you think that, hey, I don't know jack diddle, I can't even change the time on my computer. As long as you can follow directions and maybe watch a couple YouTube videos, you can figure out how to make your own stuff. And sure, it's trial and error, and you're going to learn, and it's going to be hard probably a little bit, but that's going outside your comfort zone, and that's what you're getting. But really, I guarantee you it's easier than you think it is. It's always harder than you think. Probably the hardest thing to start is just starting. Just saying, you know what, I'm going to try and build me a map, or I'm going to build me a car, or I'm going to build me a stick, and then turn that stick into a snake. Whatever you do, you know, step by step. All right, and the next step, Somnium Space cubes. So this is another one, $2.61. When we look at the numbers, again, it's up pretty good over the last year. It had a good peak, pulled back down. You know that crypto J curve that, man, it just feels like we're on the capital J side of that. Give you a little bit of numbers. This is a smaller market cap, so it's about $32.7 million market cap. Smaller, which doesn't mean it's a bad thing, right? Some of these, there's a lot to going on, and the technology behind making this stuff work is pretty stuff. Blockchain Mechanics Partners, this is their page. So you got the OpenSea, the Uniswap, Gemini, Trading Cubes, Ethereum Blockchain, Matic, OpenSea. You can see the people in the background. It's Ready Player One. This is what we're trying to get that feel for, right? Tokenizing, let's see. By tokenizing Somnium in-game assets and land parcels, we are forever decoupling Somnium Space as a company from owning and operating database of parcels and all in-game items by giving this power to the users, right? So once everything's gone, then everybody kind of owns it and runs it and stuff like that. So, and it's a blockchain, and this is virtual reality again. So it's a metaverse, but when they say metaverse, it's not the only metaverse, right? So it's kind of like a little bit of a misleading term. It is its own ecosystem universe with boundaries. You can see the boundaries squarely on the outside. That's a good representation. But now if you can fit all of these different metaverses, like these cubes, into like a larger entity like the universe, and it just keeps expanding and expanding, that's where we're going with the metaverse. That's the concept of the metaverse. Here's the Somnium map. Really pretty cool. You know, it's got some land, and I'm gonna play this video in the background when we talk about this. So there's homes and lands, and it's kind of, it has a like a suburby feel to it. You know, you can see, here's the outline of a square land down there. But you can go higher with different buildings. People got houses by the lake. It's a little different feel, you know. So, and here's your different land parcels. You can kind of see them highlighted in green. Here's one that's got a floating island. You know, this guy built him a little farm. Interesting concept. But another aspect of the metaverse, you could go from Decentraland to the Sandbox to the Somnium Space. So let's say you're visiting your friends, right? It'd be maybe going from house to house. Maybe one of your friends has a really cool place in Somnium Space. You guys go kind of kick it on right here, his little farm with a floating aquarium. And then you go kick it at Decentraland on another friend's place, and then there's maybe a live event there, kind of like the ones that they do in Fortnite every now and then. All of this is the metaverse. This is where we're going. All right, so moving to Starlink. Starlink's kind of a neat little project. And I don't know, I know enough from what we'll talk about today, but it's something I'm still researching. It's really small. It's right here again, we're looking at that possible upper part of that J curve. 15 million, so really, really small market cap. It kind of took a big dip with everything else, but before that dip, the volume, the price, you know, it was starting to gain some pretty good adoption. Look at these numbers, 400%, 800%. So it's gaining some notoriety, right? People are looking at it. And it's from Shiba. I'll talk about that here when we look at the coin or the token, but it's Uniswap. It looks like a little bit of 1-inch zero protocol, but real small. Shiba Swap and Uniswap are the two big ones for this. So the Metaverse Station Starlink. All right, the two other ones we talked about were just kind of big squares that were broken up, and that was their metaverse, right? Well, this metaverse is a space station. Starlink, and again, now this is sponsored, you know. And if you've made it this point and you're getting value, like, subscribe, comment. That's all I ask, man. That's where we're at. 100% community-owned decentralized virtual space project. STARL, that's your token ticker. It's the governance token for the Starlink ecosystem. Buy, sell, and trade virtual satellites, spacecraft, and lands. And if you don't think that there's nerds like me that like sci-fi and would rather buy a piece of a space station than a little square on a flat piece of land when we're talking about, excuse me, I got the hiccups, virtual reality, then, you know, welcome aboard. Virtual world, a finite amount of satellites and space modules will be sold similar to like the virtual billboards and living spaces within the framework of our system, as well as the station core, which will have a number of different options and how you interact with the virtual world. Starlink tokens are basically the in-game currency, the investment tool to purchase virtual land at the Starlink station, which will mimic a real-world space station positioned in a very real quadrant of the galaxy. Here's the white paper. Getting in, it says they want to utilize the power of the blockchain and decentralization in order to infinitely expand upon and honor the true vision of the new financial pair. Basically, they saw the potential in these flat lands and decided to try to take it to a new level, change the background a little bit, and make it in space. Doing virtual worlds. A lot of this stuff is kind of the same concept. Still, we're working right here with Ethereum 721, NFTs. They talk about the virtual boom. So we look in January, barely anything. And then this January, a year later, it's like a rocket ship. And that's just barely starting. And so they want to use these STARL tokens to purchase, in the future, Starlink internet services and receiver dishes, as well as create paths to provide this service to those most in need at little to no cost via the charitable action and community collaboration. So they want to use this community that they're going to develop through this gamification of, you know, their little metaverse in space stations and stuff like that, to kind of, you know, peel a couple bucks off on the side to help get some people that need it Starlink. So I found that was pretty cool. There's a little bit more in here you can get into, but they have different categories. It talks about the universe profile. I'll probably do a video of this on just its own. I think it's really cool. I'm going to dig in a little bit more, read this a couple more times, and kind of figure out what we're really talking about. But the last little bit, roadmap, we can see we crossed a few things off, but the SETI NFT smart contract, July. Marketplace launch in August, and then they're talking about the graph implementation for transparency in August, profile implementations around the same time, and then 3.3 mission 3 universe beta release. So if you're looking about when the universe is going to be ready, it looks like October, or at least, Q4. Metaverse 3D migration, Starlink DAO launch, and stuff like that, all at the end of the year or early next year. That's what I got on Starlink. So now Metahero. Metahero is one that I looked at, and so when I read about it, they're like, oh, we're going to scan you and stuff. And the first thing I thought of was every phone has like 57,000 cameras on it. So why are you any different than what the phones are now? Because basically, like, the way they kind of pitch this is brings to the market 3D scanning and modeling technology that generates ultra realistic 3D avatars and virtual items to be used across games, VR, social media, and online fashion. Cool. Problem is, it's like a big, huge, like, airport scanner that you gotta go inside. You gotta pay for it with the Metahero token or coin or whatever. I get where they're trying to go, and it's one of those. I kind of look through some of their other social media groups, Telegram, Discord kind of stuff, and I get when people ask questions on it, you get a lot of, well, you just don't understand. And then if you do read through it and you have a pretty good understanding, like, I get the whole, like, Wolf Studios and the cyberpunk, and it's deflationary. So to me. And well, here, let's just move on, and I'll show you a little bit, and I'll give you my last little opinion on this. But next gen deflationary real utility token. I'll give you the links below. You can look at it on your own and check it out. I'm not going to invest in it. It's not my cup of tea. I get where they're going. It's like SafeMoon. So here's this. This is it right here. See these little things that snap together? I think this is probably like one of the mobile ones. They're talking about having mobile, 64 cameras, 16 mobile columns with a server unit, 4 cameras each. So what you do is you get inside, they take a bunch of pictures of you, now you got a 3D avatar. Okay. I get where you're going for that, and if you need that high finite detail of what this could provide, then maybe that's what you need. But I think, man, from what I can see from most cameras, I got kind of a crappy camera. And I did my avatar in a couple of these, and it actually turned out alright. So, I mean, like, high resolution, like, you want it to look like a person, and I get it. But I'm not sure that this one's gonna quite make it. And they have, so here's the basically the charts and all this kind of stuff, and like the little exchange they got going, and you can see I lumped this in with SafeMoon. It's kind of a long, see here's SafeMoon, you got Baby Doge, Thorium, Metahero, Rising Sun, stuff like that on here. Whether you like it, whether you don't, I'm not even here to give an opinion on it. I'm just gonna say it's kind of like that for me, and that's just not my cup of tea. But it is another element of the metaverse, and it is someone else's cup of tea, right? So Metaverse ETP moving along, 12 cents, almost 13 cents. Another small project, $10 million. Fully diluted is about 12 million. Not a deep dive. The numbers, kind of flat. Bitfinex. So what is this? Well, this one's kind of a China central entity, I guess we could talk about. So interoperable, decentralized, hybrid consensus. So they're an open source, decentralized platform, programmable digital assets, digital identities built on Substrate, right? You can watch the video, I'm not going to, but they're talking about interoperability through smart contracts will be compatible through providing support for Solidity as well as EVM, so Ethereum-based products. Proof of work, security, scalability. They utilize Substrate so that they can be more scalable is basically where they're getting. I'm going to really just barely touch this. They have a Metaverse Smart Token, digital identity, Metaverse identification. Here's their ecosystem. Roadmap. So Q1 was the released alpha testnet, hyperspace mainnet. Okay. So it is one of the first public blockchains in China. It has been operating successfully for 4 years. The mission is to drive blockchain technology adoption, and by building developer-friendly tools as well as easy-to-use user interfaces so that non-technical users are equally empowered to use this disruptive technology in both their business and daily life. That's what it's going to be all about right there. So what they're doing is they just have their own metaverse entity on Substrate, and they're trying to make it user-friendly. So a lot of this stuff is pretty tech, and when you get around and you dig in it and you've traded enough coins and stuff, you kind of lose that perspective, and you're like, it's not that hard, I've done worse. However, for the basic no crypto, no coin, just, hey man, I kind of want to try this, it's really, there's a lot of barriers to entry on that. So the more stuff like this that works on the ease of use, the better it is. Here's the white paper. It's the Metaverse, New Reality. I'm not going to read it to you, but they go through and talk about a bunch of different stuff. So just more Metaverse. Metaverse NFT Index, $1.42, another small project. I don't even know what the market cap on this one is, but it says like 2 million fully diluted. It's really small. I don't remember, but it was, really small. Trading volume is only like 24,000, right? So it doesn't really matter. It's not what I'm buying right now. But what I wanted to point out is when you click on their Metaverse Index, you come in here and you get, so we see that we got Axie, Mana, Sand, Engine, and then we got Ultra, NFTX, Avagachi, we got some Rarible, Red Fox, Mask, which is a social media thing. We'll look at Ultra, just which happened to be on here. These small projects just kind of keep coming up. So KuCoin, and that's kind of why I picked this one, is it's not one I haven't really done a whole lot of research on Ultra. It's not one that I don't think I own it, but I'll look at it or whatever. Here it is. It's a new era for gamers. Ultra is the first entertainment platform providing a variety of games, industry services under a single roof. So it's kind of, I don't know, maybe like a YouTube-ish platform for what we're doing. Accessible through a single login, discover, buy, and play games, watch live streaming feeds, interact with your favorite influencers, participate in contests, compete in tournaments, much more, right? So it's another channel in the metaverse. These just add up. So if you have an Oculus, there's a whole bunch of different apps you can drag, you drop, you play something for a little bit, you swap over here, you do this, you do that. Mana Forest, Moon Mission. It's got some neat stuff. I've kind of looked at it a little bit. I wish I knew more. I'll get into it and play with it one time. All right, so now let's kind of get down into like the conclusions, the summaries. Let's talk a little bit about the metaverse. We talked about some projects, but here, look. So this is basically like digging into what Mark Zuckerberg's talking about, and this is only 2 days old, July 30th. Yeah, so like maybe 3 days old at max. He made headlines for his concept of the metaverse, where you can, basically he was talking about the metaverse and stuff like that. So Facebook is really digging the idea of the metaverse. They're trying to get in as much as they can. They get into the Oculus. It's pretty deep. It's something they really want to do, right? So this talks about some internet. Let's see, so when is the future? And it right here, it's already begun. And we're just waiting on the hardware, which is a lot of this talks about. We use a lot of this stuff as it is right now. There's a lot of other items that we're going to be integrating into this metaverse experience, like, Ring cameras, FaceTime, and I got a whole list of them. So you could get with your friends and go to a friend's real house in real life, right? And instead of a costume party, you could have an augmented reality costume party where everybody's wearing different NFTs and stuff like that. Scavenger hunts, you guys could all go to a park, or you could do geocaching. So there's different AR platforms where you can buy lands, and then if you bought that land, geocache something there in augmented reality where other people have to go find it. And then you can start getting into all sorts of other stuff where, NASA sends a rover to Mars, where then basically everybody just checks everything out in augmented reality. They could pump a feed maybe in, VR, AR, whatever. It's a bold world. So here's some links to some stuff that you may want to get into. This is XR today. XR is just the same thing. XR is like augmented reality, virtual reality, all that stuff combined together. But the one I like is the Facebook confirms launch of Ray-Ban smart glasses. Facebook commits. The Menlo Park-based tech giant revealed it would prioritize the release of the rumored AR wearables. When was this written, you say? 3 days ago. When are they coming out with this, you think? I don't know, 50 years from now? 20 years? No. Facebook will release a long-awaited pair of augmented reality AR Ray-Ban. Yes, Ray-Ban the brand. The ones your parents wear. Smart glasses later in 2021. That's like this year. And it's already later in 2021, right? So Like, that means that this stuff pretty much works. And we look at the ads over here. We see smart glasses. And you know what we see when we're starting to see these smart glass ads look in real? I'll talk about them in a second. They're not these big clunky like visor things anymore. They're getting down. They're getting stylish. They're getting fashionable. A lot of them, sure, they're still tethered to your phone and stuff like that, but we're making progress, and that's the key. So here, this is a really, really cool one. This was my intro, but it's the spectacles one. Man, these are really, really cool. And they're the Snapchat's spectacles. And I know they're tethered to the phone and stuff like that, but we're getting there. So what we're doing is, you know those Snapchat filters? Yeah, you get those in glasses, and they have a couple different shades and stuff like that, and they're still tethered, but, you know, look at these. We're getting there, man. We're getting there. Nreal, same thing. The Nebula light, or the Nreal light and the Nebula. This is the light, I think. I don't know. I know everybody's from, you know, different countries and continents and stuff like that. So if you're in the US, we have different ways of doing our mobile carriers for our devices than like in Europe, Korea, Japan, stuff like that. I used to live in Spain for a really long time. Vodafone. I had Vodafone while I was there. Look, these are the carriers. So this is like, you know, your Verizon. You got T-Mobile. We know T-Mobile. And then we have different carriers right here. So this means that we're going to start having smartphone glasses. That's where we're getting there. We're right on the doorstep of this. And these, you know, while they're not the most fashionable, they're not bad. You know, I've seen worse. And having Vodafone's pretty good. That's a pretty good size name to have stamped on your project when you're. So I mean, we're really, really, really getting close, people. Mind control. Yeah, it is what it is. So you see this little plastic piece on the back of this VR headset? Yeah, that's how invasive it is. That's it. It just, you know, has the little electrodes. They touch your skin. And there's like an alien game on this where I was checking it out. Dude was blowing up aliens and stuff, and it just clips on the back of your strap. And then, you know, you got to kind of calibrate it a little bit with your mind through a few different setups. But then you have mind control in VR, and eventually this technology, as it adapts, that's how you're going to be walking down the street with those cool AR glasses, and you're going to think, oh, I should buy some milk, and then you can just tell Amazon to buy milk or whoever it is, and they'll deliver your fresh goods through their little milk drone, or, you know, these things, or your refrigerator might already take care of that for you by that point, and you'll be like, oh, you know what, I think I should call my husband, and then your phone will pop up and you call your husband or your wife or it's going to be like that, right? So, I mean, buckle up. Minds are getting blown. So now here's where I want to go with this. Right now we have different NFTs on different platforms. But they're all basically the same kind of format, right? They're ERC-20. That's kind of your currency in-game, you know, that's how you exchange and buy things. They're all the same. They're fungible. You have your ERC-721s. Most of these places use ERC-721 or ERC-1155 for their NFTs, their NFT lands, wearable items, all that kind of stuff. So where you get into this is why not, and I'm not a coder, so you guys tell me, am I off on this? But why can't we get to the point where when you buy an NFT, that in its smart contract and everything is going to, and I know that there's issues with different, you know, like MetaMask and having, you know, the Ethereum network set up or the Binance network set up or something like that. But there has to be a way, eventually some way, where when you buy one NFT, you can use it across all the platforms. So let's say that I buy like ERC-1155 and it's some sort of a wearable digital item. And I understand how the lands wouldn't be transferable because those would be within the borders of each. But let's say I buy me a nice pair of Gucci glasses or something, right? And I want to wear those when I go to Decentraland. And we were talking earlier, I want to go, today's date on my calendar for my dance card, I'm going to Decentraland, Sandbox, and then we're going to hit Somnium Space for a little bit and then just see how everybody feels. But I want to wear my Gucci glasses in all three of those places. Somebody needs to make that possible. And the ones that do, that's how it's going to be made. Because who wants to pay, you know, a lot of these too, until Ethereum kind of works out their stuff, you're going to pay those gas fees to buy these items. And now I can only use it in Decentraland. So then when I go over to, you know, Somnium, then I don't have any cool stuff because, you know, I've spent it all in Decentraland. We need these items to carry over. And I think that that's where we're going to go. You're going to see a lot more of that. I'm not going to dig in too deep, but here's a good link between ERC-20, ERC-721, and ERC-1155. Think of it like this. ERC-20, those are your dollar bills. That's your money. They're all the same. Okay. ERC-721, think about those like the original NFTs. They're like the most robust. And then the ERC-1155s, those are, semi-fungible, non-fungible. They're kind of the best of both worlds. They're kind of an adaptation, right? So some people think the ERC-721s are more secure, more whatever. That's basically your rundown. You can create your own opinion if you look it up. Okay, so how is all this going to work? What does it run on? Still, this is all in the metaverse. Unreal Engine and Unity right now. Those are going to be like your Android and your iOS. Unity and Unreal Engine. This is what everything's going to be built in. And if you haven't seen Sketchfab, now they'll be adding Epic Games. That's who owns Unreal Engine or whatever. Picked up Sketchfab, so you're going to see a lot more Unreal Engine stuff on there. They're still going to support all the other stuff, so it's not a zero sum. It's not a winner take all. We're looking to make all of this stuff work, and it's wild. It's so much easier. It's like you used to think you have to do all this coding and crazy stuff to make games, and right now you can almost drag and drop. You can use stuff like Mix-It-Mo to get different animations and characters. Okay, to keep moving on with the metaverse is also going to include the military, and it's not just like cybersecurity and stuff like that. The military is using all sorts of different AR technologies in their flight and vehicle simulations, instrumentations, battlefield combat simulations, battlefield medic response simulation, military weapons, bomb disposable, remote maintenance, a lot of stuff. So I come from a background of high technology, like remote control, remotely operated vehicles, subsea, the little robots that fly to the bottom of the ocean with the arms and do stuff. That's what I used to do. And you're putting high voltage in a high pressure saltwater environment on the bottom of the ocean. I mean, there's a lot of technical aspects that have to be overcome. It's probably easier to work in space than it is on the bottom of the ocean. And having the ability of these augmented reality things to do maintenance, to do even flight simulations, so you could get to the point where the pilots wouldn't actually have to be, because we're diving in the ocean in the middle of remote locations all over the world. You have to fly to, you have to pay people to get there, they get sick, and there's just a lot of concerns with that. Now you could have your pilots at home doing it all through augmented reality, have a minimal crew of maintenance and launch technicians, which could even eventually become semi-automated down to just a minimal crew. Now you're saving a lot of money. You're also eliminating jobs, which that's kind of how some technologies work out. The medical industry is using augmented reality to do surgery, to diagnose problems, to educate new doctors and nurses and stuff like that. It's amazing what they're doing. And I'm not going to explain it, but use your imagination, and it's probably that plus 10. And then we're talking next level stuff. We're getting into augmented reality for robotics and artificial intelligence, like I was talking about a little bit with robotics. But now we're getting into AI. We're getting into, speech recognition, how to incorporate that together into augmented AI assistance. So now you could but lower your costs for labor in industries such as like tour guides. You could use this in mental health facilities where they could wear the glasses and then have augmented assistance, and then people, maybe it's a dangerous environment. Now you're not putting people out that could get hurt. There's a lot of aspects that we're barely even touching on. Okay, so the last thing that we're going to talk about real quick is the SETI video. It's like an hour and 10 minutes long, so I'm not going to talk too much, and we're not going to watch the video. We're just going to look at it without any sound. But if you look at this is a business card, and you're looking at this through augmented reality, some sort of an augmented reality device, visor, something like that. And it picks up, it gets the spatial recognition of where we're at, and that's one of the hard things for augmented reality right now too. Other drawbacks and limitations include, there's just a lot of data, and it's hard to get the computing power to understand and know how to apply that to a real world. The geospatial recognition of where buildings are, where the floor is, where the ceiling is, how things interact with it. These are all they make it clunky, and everything's kind of built in layers. But you can see the potential here. Like, how cool is this? If you just want to see a business card of someone, it could have linked into their videos, their pictures. I mean, it gets pretty in-depth. Another spot on here is where they're talking about terrain. So I was talking about how hard it is to do like terrain and stuff like that. And then, so here's something where they're building a terrain on the deck and moving things around, trying to find the height. When you work with augmented reality stuff, like if you get your NFTs from Ecomi, like the VV app and stuff like that, and you go to take pictures with them, sometimes, you know, if somebody walks funny, there's the depth gets, if you stand just right, you can get a cool picture. But, you know, now they're working on that. So here you can see it found the desk level, and now it's augmenting it with like a jungle environment just by moving it around, and now there's a character. So now you're playing a 3D interactive spatial game almost, and it's recognizing different elevations in real world, and then using that to change the depth and the perspective of the augmented overlay. That's pretty high tech right there. Let's see, another quick jump ahead was like 17. So if you guys, oh yeah, this one. Samsung made this, and it is hilarious. Where the, let me start it back right here. Where this ostrich gets a VR helmet or goggles or whatever on its face, and it thinks it's flying. And man, it's hilarious. So I put all of these under my channel. If you go to playlists, there's AR, VR, all that. I put this commercial, this SETI video. There's a link to that in there. And, you know, I'll keep adding some stuff as we go. Let's see, the 45. So if you're really getting into this and you want to see a really good discussion, at the end, all four of the people that spoke for this video, they get together and have a discussion. And then they talk about different AR, VR, where it's going, how they, you know, some of the difficulties, some of the positives, where they think it is. And basically at about 5320, they talk about how they see in 5 to 10 years this being commonplace technology. And if you don't know how like technology kind of adapts, it's usually really slow, and then it kind of goes, but once it gets to like 15-20%, that's where everybody's kind of heard about it, someone they know is using it, and then they're like, oh, I should get that, and then adoption goes parabolic. And it's common for a lot of electronics. It's something you can look at. I'm not going to bore you with like the, you know, technicals of it. It's just the concept, right? That's what you want to keep is the mental. So as this explodes, they expected this to happen in 5 to 10 years. This was 3 years ago. So that means in 2 to 7 years, if everything is and these people are, you know, the top of their field, you can read through. But where I want to go with this is we're almost there. 3 to 5 years. That's where we're at. So when you're looking at these projects and you're looking at investing and all this kind of stuff, if you're trying to day trade, swing trade this, you might be okay on these little pumps and markets and stuff like that. But where you really need to be looking is 3 to 5 years. The glasses, AR technology, NFTs, luxury NFTs, interoperable NFTs across VR platforms, AR platforms, cars. It's going to be endless, and it's going to be wild. And people are just like, well, why would I want to buy a GIF, or why would I want to buy some little animated video or just a picture or something like that just because they say it has rarity or scarcity? And then this is going to give that the utility you need to make the argument, because now you can say, look, I'm not just buying a video, I'm buying an NFT, but I'm buying a pair of Gucci glasses because I like Gucci. You know, why do you buy Gucci glasses in the first place? Because brand recognition, you like them, your friends like them, peer pressure, it's cool, whatever it is. That's why you buy almost all products, right? Is personal preference. So you'll take that into your virtual experience, your augmented experience. Why wouldn't you take it into all aspects of your personal metaverse experience? So the concept isn't that you're going to the metaverse. It's that the metaverse is coming to you through each of these little aspects. And so once we figure that out, that each person is basically individualized through AI, their preferences, whatever they've done, their habits, their history, you know, next thing you know, everybody's gonna be living in their own little perfect world. Is that good? I don't know. Man, who even knows how to diagnose the future health problems this is going to cause? Or maybe we're just going to advance ourselves and we won't have any problems. Let me know. Comments below. Long video, but man, it's almost mind-blowing stuff. it's going to be a cool new world, man. All right, cheers.